Komplete as a product line, it comes with a lot of different instruments and effects, but we were very aware that a lot of people were accessing this via a third-party MIDI keyboard, and so we wanted to actually make a keyboard that we felt justified the product range as it was. So it was a two-pronged attack, because not only did we have to think about the software that we needed to obviously design and implement to allow integration with Komplete, but also we wanted to make sure that the keyboard that we actually designed and manufactured actually did justification to the quality of the Komplete line that you get. So if you look at my computer screen as we've got it, what I have open on there at the moment, running actually as a VST inside Ableton, is Komplete Kontrol, which is the software end, and then obviously if you look down here I have the keyboard. So you can run Komplete Kontrol either as a standalone or, as I say, as a VST inside a DAW. And the instance use for why you might want to use it standalone is because we're very keen to make people aware that they can use this keyboard not only in a studio environment but also in a live environment for performance as well. The beauty of it being is you can actually create and tag your own sounds within Komplete Kontrol and then obviously scroll through those. So as I look on my computer screen, you'll see that I'm able actually to navigate up and down through Ableton using the keyboard itself. And you'll see that as I move through them, what you're seeing on my computer screen is also updating accordingly as well. So these are the three new instruments, or three of the new instruments that we have within Komplete: Contour, Polyplex and Rounds. However, you'll notice that when I go onto a blank instance of Komplete Kontrol at the bottom, the keyboard is intuitive and it's actually prompting me to do something now. So it's asking me to press browse. So if I press browse, what I'm presented with, I'm actually presented with my entire Komplete collection instrument-wise in front of me. This is a great way actually for you to become a lot more familiar with all of the instruments that are contained within Komplete. Whether you've got Komplete or Komplete Ultimate, there's a whole vast array of different instruments, and sometimes it can be a bit daunting to actually work and navigate your way through. So actually using it via Komplete Kontrol is a really liberating way to do it. Now I've got a decision to make. I can either actually just browse through the instruments as such, or if I jump down onto types, this is where Komplete Kontrol really starts to come alive for me personally, and this is the idea, the same philosophy as you would experience through Machina. So for instance, if I wanted to find a bass sound, I can now highlight bass. I'm then taken on to subtypes of bass, so it could be an analog bass that I want to load up. And now what I'm presented with on the right-hand side is all of the results, i.e. anything that has been tagged with bass and analog bass. But this doesn't matter what instrument it's from now, because Komplete Kontrol has scanned my entire NI factory content. So now I can just go down and then I can decide on whatever it is that I want to load in. The beauty of this as well is I don't know what instrument is going to be loaded up. So if I push down on the loading button, it comes up, and what you'll see now is actually it's an instance of Massive that has been loaded in. The beauty of it is actually my interaction with the computer has pretty much ended now, because what has happened is all of Massive's parameters have been mapped directly and clearly in front of you through our clear view display. So essentially now I can treat this as if it's a hardware synthesizer. So not only is it unlocking the power of Komplete for me, but it's also actually forcing me almost to integrate with this instrument in a way that I haven't been able to do before. In Berlin, over 16,000 sounds have been arduously mapped by all the sound designers. So what this actually means is unlocking the power of this instrument for you to have it at your fingertips. So for example, if you look down here, it's telling me the preset that's been loaded in. But as we make our way across the clear view display, you can see that I've got all of the parameters available to me. Now, obviously, there's a lot of parameters to map. So as you would expect, there's more than one page of mapping. So I can just simply go through now and change anything it is that I want to change. So you can hear as I go through and change various parameters, the sound and the timbre of the sound that I'm experiencing and playing is changing as well. These encoders are capacitive, and what that means is, as you're looking at them at the moment, if we take encoder number 1 as an example, it's showing me that the parameter that is controlling is the detune, a macro detune over the oscillators. But I might want to know what value I'm working at as well. All I have to simply do is hold my finger actually onto the capacitive knob. I don't have to push down on it, and it actually brings a value up for me. Well, this is great now, because I know that if I want to fine-tune things down, I can do that by actually moving these. And in the same way, for example, with the damping and the resolution, the resonance on there, I can actually bring that up and down. What you'll see at the moment is that the controls are working on a logarithmic scale. So what that means is the harder I turn them, the less values it's displaying to me. But if I want to go in and fine tune anything, if I hold down the shift button in the first instance, now you can see that I can actually move up and down in 1-step increments. So this really allows me to get inside the sound and really fine tune it for a particular type of characteristic that I'm looking for within my own productions. What's really good now though is I don't have to go back to the computer. If I've decided that I don't actually feel the sound that I have loaded up is appropriate for the particular project I'm working in, I can simply use these 2 preset buttons now to navigate my way down the list or the results list that I was presented with. So for example, if I push down now, you'll see actually on my computer screen that the instrument that has been loaded in is a Monarch instrument. Now, I didn't know that Monarch was going to come up next, but this is great because it might be that I don't actually go by default to Monarch that much. So really what Komplete Kontrol and the keyboard are asking you to do is to explore your Komplete collection in a way that you haven't thought about doing beforehand. And obviously now I can just start going down through the presets. As you see, another Monarch instance is loaded up. And so with how quickly and how instantly it loads up, it was very obvious. However, if I carry on down now, it could be that I hit the preset key several times. Now, for example, I've gone back to another massive instance as well. But what's happening is all of the parameters are updating as they go along. All of the mappings, or the native mappings as they've called, are specific to the particular sound in the instrument too. So you'll become familiar with the layout of these fairly quickly, thus allowing you to obviously change sounds and actually really get in and tailor the sounds for your own needs. And before long, obviously, you will have the memory of remembering where each of the different parameters are, and you can carry on from there. So obviously I have a 49 key in front of me. You have transpose buttons up and down for the octaves as well, so you're not limited just to playing within that 49 octave range, key octave range. You can still spread out and obviously plus minus 8 octaves as you go along. So obviously I can carry on pressing the preset button, and again, whatever comes in next is going to be beautifully mapped out in front of me. And what it's causing me to do is it's causing me to actually tweak the sound. And for me, that's really liberating because it means I can actually learn the sound and then tweak it for my own means. But then I could also save that sound if I wanted to as well. Again, it's the point I was making earlier on about you can have your own user sounds browsable via Komplete Kontrol as well. So what I can do now is I can actually go into browse and I can show you that in action. So if I come back over, bearing in mind what I've selected at the moment is bass and analog bass, if I want to take myself right back up to the top tier again, if I hold the shift and the back button, it wipes the slate clean. So it basically means I'm back up at that top entry level again now. And what I can do is I can actually move the icon over now, and so I'm highlighting the little human icon. So what this is all of my sounds that I've created and that I've tagged as well. So if I push down on it, it presents the instruments that are available to me. If we just have a quick look at the layout of the keyboard so you can see the areas that I'm using. Obviously this is the key bed. When we were designing the keyboard, there was a lot of research into, well, what sort of key bed do we want to go for? Do we want to go for a semi-weighted? Do we want to go for fully weighted? Do we want to go for synth action? So many different types of key bed were actually investigated into, and we decided, because predominantly we make software synthesizers in the first instance contained within Komplete, it made sense for us to go for a premium, high quality synth action bed. Now, rather than making our own, what we did is we went and sourced who we feel are one of the best manufacturers of that, and that is Fatar. So this has a good quality Fatar synth action key bed in it. I've also got a transport section here. What this transport section allows me to do is it actually allows me to control my DAW. So for instance, I'm in Ableton at the moment, so I can stop, start, play, record, rewind, fast forward and loop all within Ableton. Again, it's actually detaching my interaction with having to go back to the computer all of the time. So for example, for me at home, I have my keyboard set up on the other side of my studio. So it means that I don't have to get up and move back to the computer to start it. Again, I don't have to use an iPad or something like that to control it either. I can do it all from this workstation right here. We've obviously looked at this, and this is what we're calling our clear view display. It's really simple just to navigate through it as well. You've got left and right arrows, and obviously everything updates accordingly as you go along. And then what we have over here is we have the navigate area. So we've looked at the browse buttons. We've also looked at these two up and down buttons here, which allow me obviously to scroll through different instances of Komplete Kontrol within my DAW. And then I've got my presets here again. And what I really like about this is what I've started to do myself is actually I might write a bass line or I might write a melody line, but then I actually start scrolling through the sounds that are actually auditioning and playing that bass line or that melody line. And again, I'm starting to discover instruments or sounds within instruments that I just wasn't familiar with. And that's really because obviously with Komplete you have such a broad choice that sometimes, like all of us do, we're creatures of habit, you have a default. So you might always go for massive, you might always go for absinthe or reactor, etc. Well, this is kind of allowing you to jump over that decision, and it's encouraging you really to explore and look at different areas of Komplete that you might not just have had the time to get around to do. So for example, now, if you look at my computer screen, what you'll see is these are instruments that I have tagged or created sounds within myself. What you'll notice is we've got a light guide across here, and at the moment this is just showing blue. Now, the light guide can obviously be really useful because it can feed back extra information to us. So, for example, how might I use this? Well, one way I might choose to use it is actually within battery. So if I load up an instance of battery here, what you'll notice is once battery is loaded up, all of these LEDs have now changed. These are multicoloured LEDs, and by the nature of them being multicoloured, it means that we can use them to tell us different things. Those of you that are familiar with battery, you'll know that it's a drum sampler and it works on colour coding different cells. So if you know battery, I know that all red cells are kicks. So what this means is I can run my fingers up and down hitting red keys on the keyboard, knowing that I'm always going to hit a kick drum. In the same way, I know that snares are yellow as well. So I can run myself up and down here just playing snares. So again, this is causing me to interact with battery in a way that I haven't been able to do before, and really unlocks the power of it. So from a studio point of view, this is great because I don't have to remember where all of the different sounds are mapped across the keyboard. But from a performance point of view as well, this is great for exactly the same reason. It means I don't have to get loads of masking tape and stick it all over and get my Sharpie and write all over here. You can change the colours of the cells as well. So if our colour coding system doesn't work for you, you can just use a colour coding system that is going to work for you. And it's really simple to do that. So for example, if we look at this kick drum here, if I right click on the cell, I can go down to cell colour and I can change it. And so now I've changed it to yellow, and you'll see that that's updated in itself as well. That's now gone to a yellow colour. So it allows you to come up with your own colour categorisation system that's really going to work for you. Chord sets are collections of chords that sound good spread across an octave. So what we have is we have 8 major chord sets and we have 8 minor chord sets. So for example, I could dial this round and put this onto G sharp, for example, and then I could come over and I could put it onto the minor 4 chord set that we've got here, which now allows me, when I play, to obviously play chords that sound good together. So again, for jamming ideas out, for actually getting something going really quickly, this is a really useful product to have. And for your workflow, this can do nothing but improve and speed up your workflow, because the more competent you come with it, obviously the more comfortable you come with it as well. But also as well, what it's encouraging you to do is encouraging you to understand music. So obviously, you know, when we're learning English or whatever our native language is, we have to start off small and we have to really build ourselves up to it till we become competent where we can hold a conversation. Some people would argue I still haven't got to that point in my life yet, but what we can do with this is we can use this to actually encourage us to learn music as a language better than we have been able to do beforehand. Not only have we got the scale and the chord functions as well, and again, just to switch it off, it's just a case of me switching off. I want to come back out of this page now though, so I hold down the shift and the edit button and it takes me out. If I push the browse button, we can have a look at the ARP engine as well now. So again, I'm going to come over to this side, And I'm going to load up FM8. And I'm going to load this one up here. Okay, so what we have FM8, which is obviously another synthesizer that we make. So again, everything's been mapped for me over here as well. So I've got full tactile interaction with this instrument in a way that I haven't had before. So I can go through and I can change anything that I want about it. I can really get far away from that sound as well if I want to, and use this as you would do a hardware synthesizer in that sense. And for me, this is great because it's, you know, the interaction that I'm having with these software synthesizers now is unlike anything else that I've ever had before. So what I can do, though, is, again, I'm just going to open up. We're going to look at those control strips in a minute. That's been mapped to a cutoff, so you'll hear it, obviously. So if I go into the ARP edit window, same thing again, Shift and ARP takes me into that edit window. I've now got some choices. So first off, this can just be a note repeat. So if I switch it on, you'll hear. Just bring that cutoff up so you can hear it. You'll hear that that's just running, and I can actually change the rhythm or rate of that note repeat as well. And then I can do things like I can add swing to it, and I can change the gate. The gate is just how much of the note is being let through. And you'll hear if I go all the way back down, much less of it being let through as well. But then what I can also do is I can now change this to an ARP. Anyone that's familiar with any synthesizer architecture should hopefully know what an arpeggiator is, or obviously if you're a piano player, you'll understand that running arpeggios up and down. Arpeggios are just fast sequence of notes that you can run up and down, obviously in a musical context. So what I can do is, using the ARP engine, again switching it on like that, what you'll see now is what's happening with the lights is it's actually showing me the notes that it's playing within that. Okay, and I can go through and I can change things like the rate, so I can go up to a 16th rate if I want to, and you'll see the lights are actually starting to feed back a lot quicker to me now. It's showing me what notes it's playing within that as well. And I can also change the sequence. So there's different preset sequences that come within it. So it actually means that you don't have to play the same arpeggio over and over and over. And again, something that I haven't really gone over at the moment is I'm only showing you these features with one sound in each instance. There's over 16,000 sounds that you can use any of this functionality with. So although I've shown you the chord and the scale feature with the piano, it applies in exactly the same way to massive, reactor, absinthe, FM8, contact, all of those instruments. It will work in exactly the same way. Same with the arpeggiator. So, and obviously this means that it's allowing you to experience these instruments in a way that you haven't been able to do beforehand. Other settings that I have, again, is I have things like swing, so I can actually add swing to the arpeggio as it's running. I also have octave, so although obviously I don't have a full 88 keyboard in front of me, that doesn't mean, if I don't want to, that I don't have to have a full 8 octaves in front of me if I play that as well. And now you'll see the lights are running up and down as well. I can obviously come down and change that octave range as well and just put it on to, let's say, 2 octaves, for example. And again, gate works in the same way, that it's just the amount of note that is being allowed through. So now that I've opened the gate up, you can really hear how the arpeggio is starting to work on that. I can obviously change things in real time as I'm going along as well. So again, it's fun, fundamentally. I think that's the big thing that I want to stress about it. And for me, I'm a firm believer that the reason that you start to make music is because you get enjoyment out of it. So if this technology can encourage you to interact with instruments and get more fun out of them, then it seems silly that you wouldn't use that resource if it was available to you. So if we come back into Browse, last thing that I just want to have a look at quickly before we take a break and then we go over to the S8 is just to show how we could use the light guides maybe in a different way as well. Obviously we looked at battery, and then we've looked at the keyboard and the FM8 synthesizer with the arpeggio. But if I just bring up George Duke now, which is a contact instrument, what you'll see is then once it's loaded up, I'm just going to move that up so you can see it a little bit better, is I've actually got 3 distinct zones in front of me here. So again, this light information that it's giving back to me is different from the light information that I've been given back from other instruments. And in the same way, there's specific light information for different instruments. So it's really unlocking the power of these instruments in a way that you haven't been able to do before. So I can clearly see I've got a blue, green and red zone here. So what I might want to find out is, well, what does the blue stuff do? Okay, so I can see that the blue stuff is a sample and it plays samples back for me. So if I want to play just one sample slice, I can obviously keep my finger on it there. But what's the green stuff doing as well? Well, let's play 2 at the same time and find out. So you can see, even though I'm only playing one slice within George Duke, I'm actually able to play it as if it was a keyboard in itself, because I have a pitch, I have an octave in front of me here that I can play about with. So I can actually take that one sample and pitch it up or pitch it down. But then I've also got the red bits over here as well, another red zone. So I might think, okay, well, what do they do? So if I play all 3 at the same time, you can hear that that sounds different. And the reason that sounds different is because these are effect banks down here. So if I play it dry, now with an effect, so again, it's allowing me to create great variation just from one little bit of audio, that one little slice within that. And obviously I have these other slices here that I can play with at the same time. So I could obviously try to do some pitch changes down as well. So again, it's really encouraging me to interact with this in a very intuitive way, but also in a new way as well that I might not have done before. So again, just to go back to the keyboard, the keyboard's a good quality build. I'd say actually it's a superior build in that way. It's heavyweight. It's not like a normal dumb MIDI controller, and this is something I really have to drive home. It's not just a MIDI controller in that sense, you know. This is a fully integrated keyboard that marries itself perfectly with NI products. It's compatible with Komplete 10, it's compatible with Komplete 10 Ultimate, it's also backwards compatible with Komplete 9 and Komplete 9 Ultimate as well. Anyone that purchased Komplete 9 or Komplete 9 Ultimate, you should have already had a download link for the Komplete Kontrol software. If you haven't had that yet, check your spam filters, etc., because even if you haven't got the keyboard, you can start to understand and experience the benefits of accessing your complete collection through the software it is at the moment. I think what you'll find though is before long you'll start to realize that actually you fully unlock it when you've got all of that power directly at your fingertips over here. Obviously, if we look on the back of it as well, what I have is I have a MIDI I/O on the back, but I also have a sustain and an expression pedal foot switch on there as well. So for those of you that are maybe a professional keys player, or you own an 88 fully weighted keyboard, there's still the feasibility for you to be able to take a 25 key, sit that on top of your 88 keyboard, play your 88 fully weighted, but you can still be controlling everything from over here. So you can still access and control all of Komplete via the unit as well.